Uh, wait just a minute, Congress.
Let me thank the chairman and ranking member for allowing me to testify.
Yeah, I would ask you to hold. You won't lose any time. Okay. Proceed, Congress.
Let me thank the chairman and ranking member for allowing me to testify. The Senate's duty to provide advice and consent to presidential nominees is a fundamental component of American democracy. I know that you do not take this responsibility lightly. Before I jump into my substantive testimony, I want to address two timely issues. First, I want to express my concerns about being made to testify at the very end of the witness panels. To have a senator, a House member, and a living civil rights legend testify at the end of all of this is the equivalent of being made to go to the back of the bus. It is a petty strategy, and the record should reflect my consternation at the unprecedented process that brought us here. My record on equality speaks for itself, and I don't mind being last. But to have a living legend like John Lewis handled in such a fashion is beyond the pale, and the message sent by this process is duly noted by me and the 49 members of the Congressional Black Caucus and the 78 million Americans we represent and the over 17 African Americans that we represent. Further, on the issue of Senator Sessions' record of prosecuting the Marion Three, stemming from a complaint filed by African Americans, I say the following. History is replete with efforts by those in power to legitimize their acts of suppression and intimidation of black voters by recruiting other blacks to assist in bringing trumped-up charges against law-abiding citizens who are engaged in perfectly legitimate voter education and empowerment activities. Those tactics were effectively used against former Congressman Robert Smalls and hundreds, if not thousands, of black office holders and landholders in our post-Reconstruction era. And they were used several years ago against Mr. and Mrs. Alfred Turner, who were discussed by this committee yesterday. The Declaration of Independence set forth the idea of universal equality that rests at the heart of our democracy. But it is the 14th Amendment to our Constitution and its Equal Protection Clause that has helped bring us closer to fulfilling that foundational principle and bringing us closer to a more perfect union. All cabinet officials have a responsibility to protect the interest of all of the American people, but there's no office for which the duty to apply the law equally is greater than that of the Attorney General. In my capacity as chairman of the Congressional Black Caucus, I urge you to reject Senator Sessions' nomination. Throughout our nation's history, attorney generals have used the resources of the federal government to vindicate the right of most of the most vulnerable in society. After the Civil War, the first attorney general to lead the DOJ, Amos Ackerman, prosecuted the KKK for its widespread use of violence aimed at suppressing the black vote. This facilitated massive black voting turnout in 1872. For the first time in our nation's history, former slaves were afforded the opportunity to participate in the democratic process. Simply put, Senator Sessions has advanced an agenda that will do great harm to African American citizens and communities. For this reason, the CBC believes Senator Sessions should be disqualified. He has demonstrated a total disregard for the equal application of justice and protection of the law as it applies to African Americans and falls short on so many issues. Jeff Sessions supports a system of mass incarceration that has disproportionately targeted African American citizens and devastated African American communities. He opposed common sense, bipartisan criminal justice reform. And Jeff Sessions cannot be relied upon to enforce the Voting Rights Act. In his decades-long career in public life, Senator Sessions has proven himself unfit to serve in the role as Attorney General. And I would I would not have the opportunity to testify today if it were not for men like John Lewis, who was beaten within an inch of his life in his pursuit for the right to vote for African Americans. It's a shame that he must sit here and relitigate this 50 years later. We sit here as the prodigy of men and women who were bought, sold, enslaved, raped, tortured, beaten, and lynched. Black people were bought as chattel and considered 3/5 of a human being. However, we have been able to endure and largely overcome that history thanks in part to brave men and women, both Democrat and Republican, who sat where you sit and cast often difficult votes for freedom and equality. These senators fought public opinion and even their own party to do what was right. I come before you today asking you to do the same. Now, you all must face a choice: be courageous or be complicit. If you vote to confirm Senator Sessions, you take ownership of everything he may do or not do in office. He has no track record of fighting for justice for minorities, despite the characterizations that you have heard from others today. He and his supporters have told you that he is a champion for civil rights and equality. Characterization and revisionist histories are not the same things as facts. He is on the record on numerous issues. I have provided just a few examples today. Let's think about this logically. If he were, in fact, a champion for civil rights, wouldn't the civil rights community support his nomination instead of speaking with one voice in near unanimous opposition? In closing, each and every senator who cast a vote to confirm Senator Sessions will be permanently marked as a co-conspirator in an effort to move this country backwards towards a darker period in our shared history. So I ask you all, where do you stand? It is clear from Senator Sessions' record where he stands. Will you stand with him and allow history to judge you for doing so? I implore you all to weigh these questions properly as you prepare to cast what will be one of the most consequential votes in your time as a United States Senator. Res ispa loquitur. It's a legal term which means the thing speaks for itself. Senator Sessions' record speaks for itself, and I would urge you not to confirm Senator Sessions as the Attorney General of the United States. And thank you, Mr. Chairman, for allowing me to go over.
Thank you, Congressman Richmond.